Hey, it's Lisa Rothman, the founder of StopFamilyConflict.com, with the next installment in the series, I Can't Collaborate Because. Today, I can't collaborate because the kids are too small. I hear this a lot from parents. And on one level, it makes sense to me. If they don't think that their 9-year-old or 7-year-old or 5-year-old or 3-year-old can collaborate because they don't have the language or the intellectual ability, why would they want to even try to do that with their child? It doesn't seem like a good use of their finite resources, nor is the child going to feel particularly good at the end of it, like being asked to do something that they simply are not capable of. So while it makes sense to me because we also have so few examples out there in society and popular culture of young children having the opportunity to collaborate, it actually has not been borne out in my experience. I cannot think of a child who hasn't been able to collaborate when it was a true invitation for collaboration. Yes, there are some things that I do when I collaborate with young children that I don't typically need to do with other people that I might collaborate with. Two things, and you can do them too. The first is that I make my language as simple as possible so that it's more likely that they can understand it the first time. And I will confess, this is not always my strength. I frequently need to try again because the kids are like, what are you talking about, Lisa? And then the second piece is I'm making more of the proposals sometimes. Usually, actually, the younger the child, the more I'm providing some new ideas. But once you are in the mindset of, okay, this is actually possible, and I'm going to do these two things, I think you might be amazed at what happens. And I want to give you some examples. One is very recent. I was helping, there's a gathering that's happening, and there are young people at the gathering, and I was facilitating a conversation among the young people and the people who are spending time with them and supporting them at this gathering. And a few issues came up, and the kids there were between 6 and 9 years old. And so one of the issues was about movies, and one of the children wanted to watch a movie every day. And then the issue came up though, but I'm concerned that maybe the movie might be scary. And so one of the 6-year-olds said, okay, well, let's all decide together what the movie's going to be, and let's all agree that we're not going to choose anything that somebody thinks is going to be scary. Done. It was all done, and that's what has been happening. Also, in this conversation, there was a discussion about, hey, what would people like to do in the evening? And one of the children said that he really wanted to have a campfire. And there's a problem with having a campfire. Where they are is very hot, there's a high risk of fire, and there's a forest nearby. And so this is true. When we're working with younger children, sometimes we have knowledge that they don't have. So this is a piece of me doing a bit more talking. I said, hey, I want to give you some information you might not know about. It's so hot, there's a high risk of fire danger. I'm guessing you don't want the forest to burn down, do you? And the kid's like, of course I don't want the forest to burn down. And so I said, so what is it about the campfire that you're excited about? Is it the idea of people coming together around it and maybe doing activities? And he said, no, it's about how pretty it looks. And then he came up with the idea that they could simply go into a darkened room. Actually, one of the adults present came up with the idea, what about candles in a darkened room? And I came up with the idea of, or it could also be flashlights, and then all of a sudden everybody had flashlights. In the same conversation with these young people, there was then, and parents and older people, one of the older people shared that she doesn't like to do physical activities. That's not something she enjoys. And one of the 6-year-olds asked her, he said, why not? And she said, well, I prefer doing things like singing. And then the 6-year-old said, oh, I like singing too. And then the idea that emerged was, oh, how about we have a singing activity when we're in the room with the candles and the flashlight at night? That could be a really nice evening activity. So when children are truly welcome to contribute their ideas, all sorts of creative possibilities emerge. And in my experience, children really want to integrate everybody's needs. You may be thinking, Lisa, these are 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. You don't actually expect me to be doing this with my 2 or 3-year-old, do you? Actually, it's completely feasible to collaborate with a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. There's probably going to be more information sharing in simple language to help the 3-year-old understand what some of the constraints are, and it might be hard for them to take in. But even if they can't understand, there's this quality of trust that is established in my experience that makes them really interested in trying to figure out something that works for everybody. And frequently, they actually come up with a solution. I heard of one 2.5-year-old. The situation was that she was happily playing with some toy animals that she had, and her mom wanted to go to the park. This was in her mom's mind, the time to go to the park, and the daughter didn't want to go to the park. And her mom's like, no, we got to go now. Put those toys down. And her daughter said, well, wait, why can't I just bring the toys with me? And her mom was like, yeah, why can't you? Oh, okay. And so then her daughter just brought the toys to the park, and she was perfectly happy. So you absolutely can collaborate with people of any age, and that includes children. And I invite you to experiment, to try it out and see what happens. Let me know if you get stuck. And what I wish for all of you is more experiences where you're making decisions with the people in your family as opposed to for them, because I believe that is the recipe for having less conflict. And I also think it is a skill that our world desperately needs. All right, bye for now.